You're standing across from someone 4,500 years ago in ancient Mesopotamia. There's no candlelight dinner, no slow-motion airport reunion, no "you up" text at 11:47 p.m. Just two people standing in the dust between mud brick houses, and one of them leans in and presses their mouth against the other person's mouth, on purpose, repeatedly. Stop and actually think about that for a second, because we never do. Somewhere, at some point in human history, two people looked at each other and decided the correct way to express affection was to touch the part of their face they eat with to the part of someone else's face they also eat with. And then everyone else looked at that and thought, yeah, actually, that's the move. That's not obvious. That's not instinctual in the way breathing is instinctual. And yet, here we are, thousands of years later, still doing it. In movies, at weddings, at airports, under mistletoe, in cars parked outside your parents' house at 1 a.m. because apparently we never grow out of that specific kind of dumb. So today we're answering the question nobody actually thinks to ask because kissing feels so natural. We assume it's always existed exactly like this. It hasn't. The real story involves Bronze Age clay tablets, a virus that may be 50,000 years old, chimpanzees, a scientific debate about whether kissing is even universal at all, and possibly, an origin story that starts with mothers chewing food for their babies. Yeah, we're going there. Let's go. The kiss isn't as universal as you think. Here's where we have to break something first, because it's the assumption everyone walks in with. You probably think kissing is one of those things every human culture on Earth does, some kind of hardwired, biologically obvious behavior baked into all of us the same way smiling or crying is. That assumption is wrong, and it's wrong by a lot more than you'd expect. In 2015, a team of anthropologists went looking for actual evidence instead of assumptions. They studied 168 cultures around the world using standardized cross-cultural research methods, and what they found broke the narrative completely. Only 46% of the cultures they studied showed any evidence of romantic mouth-to-mouth kissing, less than half. In large parts of sub-Saharan Africa, in New Guinea, among many Amazonian societies, ethnographers spent years embedded in these communities and never once documented the behavior. Meanwhile, in Asia and the Middle East, it was close to universal. So romantic kissing isn't some ancient biological reflex shared by all humans everywhere. It's closer to a cultural technology, something that got invented or discovered somewhere specific and then spread outward like an idea, not something coded into every human on the planet by default. And that distinction matters enormously because it means the story of the kiss is a history, not just a biology. Something happened somewhere, and it spread from there.
So what is a kiss actually doing biologically? Before we go back in time, we need to understand what's actually happening mechanically, because it's genuinely stranger than you think. Your lips are packed with an extraordinary concentration of nerve endings, way out of proportion to their size. That's why a kiss registers so intensely. You're essentially touching one of the most sensation-dense parts of the entire human body against someone else's equally sensation-dense body part. And it's not just nerves firing. Kissing triggers a chemical cascade. Oxytocin, the so-called bonding hormone, spikes. Dopamine, the reward chemical, spikes too. Cortisol, your stress hormone, actually drops. Saliva itself carries testosterone, which can subtly influence arousal in the person receiving it. Your body is running an entire hormonal negotiation through 8 square centimeters of mucous membrane. There's also a theory, and it's a genuinely wild one, that kissing functions as an unconscious biological background check. Human scent carries information about a set of immune-related genes called the MHC, the major histocompatibility complex. Some researchers propose that when you kiss someone, you're partly sampling their biology, unconsciously gauging genetic compatibility, whether a pairing with this person might produce offspring with a stronger, more diverse immune system. It's a compelling idea. It's also contested. Later, larger studies looking for this effect found the signal much weaker and messier than the original theory claimed. So file that one under fascinating but not settled. which, if you've watched any of my other videos, you know is basically the tagline of ancient human history.